The restaurant fell silent as Eliza Harrington stood up from her table, tears streaming down her face. What she was about to do would change not just one life, but dozens. No one could have predicted that a simple dinner with her son would lead to this moment, a moment that would remind us all about what truly matters in life. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring real-life stories that show the extraordinary impact of simple human kindness. The evening had started like any other for Eliza Harrington. Despite her $4.2 billion net worth and position as CEO of Harrington Technologies, Thursday nights were sacred, dinner with her 12-year-old son, Mason. No business calls, no assistants, no distractions. Just mother and son reconnecting in a world that constantly pulled them apart. "Can we go to Antonio's tonight?" Mason asked, his eyes bright with anticipation. "They have the best spaghetti in the world." Eliza smiled, running her hand through her son's dark hair. "Antonio's it is." Antonio's wasn't the five-star establishment her board members might expect her to frequent. It was a modest family restaurant in a working-class neighborhood where Eliza had grown up before building her tech empire. The red checkered tablecloths and faded photographs on the walls reminded her of simpler times, before quarterly reports and shareholder meetings consumed her life. "Mrs. Harrington." "Mason. So good to see you," Antonio himself greeted them, his Italian accent as thick as the day he'd opened the restaurant 30 years ago. "Your usual table is waiting." As they settled into their corner booth, Eliza noticed Mason's attention drift to a table across the restaurant. A man about her age sat with a young girl who couldn't be more than 8. The girl was coloring intently while the man studied the menu with unusual concentration. "Mom," Mason whispered, "that girl is in my math club at school. Her name is Lily." Eliza nodded absently, opening her menu though she already knew she would order the eggplant parmesan. It was only when their waiter approached the neighboring table that something caught her attention. "Just the spaghetti for her, please," the man said quietly. "And water for both of us." "Sir, would you like anything for yourself?" the waiter asked. There was a pause. "No, thank you. Just for my daughter." Eliza tried not to stare, but she couldn't help noticing how the man's jacket seemed too large for his frame, how his eyes carried the weight of exhaustion. When Lily looked up from her coloring and asked, "Daddy, aren't you hungry?" Eliza felt something twist in her chest. "I had a big lunch, sweetheart," he replied with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "This is your special dinner for getting that math award." Mason tugged at Eliza's sleeve. "Mom, that's Mr. Reynolds. He's a substitute teacher sometimes. Dad said he lost his job at the engineering firm when they downsized." The information hit Eliza like a physical blow. She knew about that downsizing. Harrington Technologies had acquired that firm 6 months ago. Her CFO had insisted on cutting 30% of the workforce to make the acquisition profitable. Their own meals arrived, steaming plates of pasta for Mason and eggplant parmesan for Eliza. But as she watched Lily's father pretend to be engrossed in his daughter's coloring while his own stomach remained empty, Eliza found her appetite vanishing. She thought about the meeting tomorrow where she was set to approve another acquisition, another round of workforce optimization. The clinical term her executives used for destroying livelihoods. How many more Mr. Reynolds would there be? How many more children would watch their parents skip meals? "Mom? Are you okay?" Mason asked, noticing her untouched food. Eliza blinked back unexpected tears. "I'm fine, honey. Just thinking." When Lily's spaghetti arrived, the girl's face lit up. "It looks just like in Lady and the Tramp," she exclaimed, and her father laughed, a genuine sound of joy that seemed to momentarily erase the worry lines around his eyes. Something broke open inside Eliza. She remembered her own father, working 2 jobs after her mother died, sometimes claiming he'd already eaten when Eliza knew there wasn't enough food for both of them. She remembered the community that had rallied around them, the neighbors who brought casseroles, the teacher who accidentally packed extra lunch. Before she could second-guess herself, Eliza signaled Antonio over. "That man," she whispered, with the little girl. "What's his situation?" Antonio's usually jovial face grew serious. "James Reynolds. Good man. His wife died of cancer 3 years ago. Lost his engineering job recently. Comes in once a month to give Lily a special dinner, but never orders for himself." Antonio shook his head. "I try to send extra bread, a little soup on the house, but he has too much pride." Eliza nodded, a plan forming. "Antonio, I need your help with something." James Reynolds was explaining division to Lily using crayons when Antonio approached their table with a steaming plate of lasagna. "I didn't order this," James said, confusion evident in his tired eyes. "New promotion," Antonio said smoothly. "Child orders pasta, parent gets free lasagna on Thursday nights. Family night special." James looked skeptical. "I've been coming here for years." "You've never had that promotion." "Just started today," Antonio insisted, placing the plate down. "Please, enjoy. Would be a waste to throw it away now." James hesitated, hunger warring with pride. Lily settled it by pushing the plate toward him. "Daddy, you have to eat it. It's a special. And it smells so good." With a grateful nod to Antonio, James took his first bite, closing his eyes briefly at the simple pleasure of a hot meal. From her corner, Eliza watched, her heart both heavy and somehow lighter than it had been in years. She'd instructed Antonio to put the meal on her bill, but that was just the beginning of what she planned to do. The next morning, instead of heading to her executive meeting, Eliza made a detour. She walked into the Human Resources Department of Harrington Technologies, a floor she rarely visited. "I need James Reynolds' file," she told the startled HR director. "He was laid off from Meridian Engineering when we acquired them." Within minutes, she was looking at his employment record. 15 years at Meridian. Consistently excellent performance reviews. Specialized in sustainable energy solutions, exactly the division her company had gutted to cut costs. Eliza spent the next hour on the phone, canceling her meetings and giving her assistant a list of tasks that left the young woman wide-eyed. "Mrs. Harrington, the board is expecting you to sign off on the Westlake acquisition today," her assistant reminded her. "The board can wait," Eliza replied. "Some things are more important." 3 days later, James Reynolds received a phone call that he initially thought was a prank. Harrington Technologies wanted to interview him for a senior engineering position in their new sustainable energy division, a division he hadn't even known existed. "There must be some mistake," he told the recruiter. "Harrington Technologies laid me off 6 months ago." "No mistake, Mr. Reynolds," the voice on the other end assured him. "Your name was specifically requested by Mrs. Harrington herself." The interview was scheduled for the following day. James spent the night ironing his only suit, rehearsing answers to potential questions, and trying not to get his hopes up too high. Lily helped him polish his shoes, her small hands working diligently with the cloth. "You're going to get the job, Daddy," she said with the absolute certainty only children can muster. "I just know it." The Harrington Technologies headquarters was intimidating, all glass and steel rising 40 stories into the sky. James felt out of place as he rode the elevator to the 38th floor, his resume clutched in slightly trembling hands. He was escorted not to a conference room as expected, but to the CEO's office itself. And there, behind a desk that probably cost more than his car, sat Eliza Harrington. "Mr. Reynolds," she said, standing to greet him. "Thank you for coming." James shook her hand, confusion evident on his face. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand why I'm meeting with you directly. I'm just here for an engineering position." Eliza gestured for him to sit. "Actually, you're here because I owe you an apology. When we acquired Meridian, I allowed my executives to make cuts based purely on numbers, not on talent or potential. It was a mistake, One of many I've made by losing sight of the human cost of business decisions. James sat stiffly, unsure how to respond. I saw you at Antonio's, Eliza continued. With your daughter. Recognition dawned on James's face. You were there with your son. Eliza nodded. Seeing you with Lily reminded me of my own father, how he sacrificed everything for me after my mother died. How he would go hungry to make sure I had enough. She paused, emotion making her voice slightly unsteady. I've spent years building this company, accumulating wealth, but somewhere along the way, I forgot what really matters. She slid a folder across the desk. This isn't just a job offer, Mr. Reynolds. I'm creating a new division focused on sustainable energy solutions, and I want you to lead it. Your work at Meridian was innovative, forward-thinking, exactly what this company needs. James opened the folder, his eyes widening at the salary figure. It was nearly double what he'd made at Meridian. This is generous, he managed, but why me? There must be hundreds of engineers more qualified. Because you have something they don't, Eliza said simply. Integrity. The kind that makes a man skip his own meal to give his daughter a special night. The kind this company has been missing. 6 months later, James's sustainable energy division had become the fastest-growing segment of Harrington Technologies. His team had developed a low-cost solar panel that could be manufactured at a fraction of the current market price, making clean energy accessible to communities that had previously been unable to afford it. But more significant than the business success was the change in Harrington's corporate culture. Eliza had implemented a new policy: no acquisition would be approved without a detailed plan for retaining talent and supporting any necessary transitions. The company established a foundation to provide emergency assistance to employees facing hardship and created a mentorship program pairing executives with employees from all levels of the organization. On a personal level, both Eliza and James found their lives transformed. Mason and Lily had become fast friends, often studying math together after school. James no longer had to skip meals, and the shadows of exhaustion had disappeared from his eyes. And Eliza, despite working as hard as ever, found a renewed sense of purpose in building a company that valued people as much as profits. One Thursday evening, almost exactly a year after their first encounter at Antonio's, the four of them sat together at the same red-checkered table. I have an announcement, Eliza said as Antonio brought their usual orders. The board approved our community initiative today. Starting next month, Harrington Technologies will be funding free STEM education programs in 20 underserved schools across the city. That's wonderful, James said, his eyes warm with admiration. Those programs will change lives. They already have, Eliza replied, watching Mason help Lily with a math problem on her placemat. More than you know. As they ate, laughed, and shared stories, Eliza reflected on how a simple act of kindness, a meal for a hungry father, had snowballed into something that would impact thousands of lives. She thought about the billions in her bank account and realized that her true wealth wasn't in those numbers, but in moments like this, breaking bread with people who reminded her of what it meant to be human. The restaurant hummed with the conversations of other families, other lives intersecting in this small corner of the city. And in that moment, Eliza understood that true success wasn't measured in acquisitions or stock prices, but in the lives you touched, the kindness you showed, and the legacy of compassion you left behind. As Eliza's story spread, first through the company, then through business circles, and finally through a viral social media post, it sparked a movement. Other CEOs began examining their own practices, looking beyond quarterly profits to the human impact of their decisions. And it all began with a billionaire taking her son to dinner, seeing a single dad doing his best, and remembering what truly matters in this world. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like and subscribe for more content that reminds us of our shared humanity and the extraordinary power of simple kindness. Sometimes the most unbelievable acts are the ones that reconnect us with our own capacity for compassion.